Hi and welcome to lesson 27. We're going to talk about building your website in this lesson. Back in lesson 23 we talked about why you need to have your own website, and since then we've covered several of the prerequisites for having a website, like getting a domain and hosting and things like that. But today we're going to talk about your options for building your own website, and then we're going to start making it a reality. Now this is exciting, especially if it's your first website. But maybe you're wondering why I'm talking about building a website before creating the product. I often prefer to launch a website before the product's done, because getting your website online is a milestone, particularly if it's the first one you've built. And secondly, you can start marketing it before the product's done. You can get into a pre-launch situation. I'll be covering more about that in later lessons when we get on to product launches. And finally, you may already have products that you're wanting to get online with your own website. You may be just itching to get going. And so we can add them into your website. Once you've got your website up there, there's an awful lot of things we can do with it. Now, note that a website is not a web page. A website is a collection of web pages. A web page is just one page, and it can be any size. It's not like a piece of paper that is limited in size. A web page, you can go on and on and on and on, but it's more convenient to split information into different pages so that it's easier for people to navigate through your website. To build a website, you need to know the language that's used on the internet. The most common one is HTML. When I'm saying you need to know that, you need to understand that that is what's used. But there are lots of other languages that are used as JavaScript and PHP and all sorts of things. And quite frankly, I don't understand much about any of them. But HTML is the most common one. And if you don't know the language, if you can't write all that yourself, which most of us can't, me included, then you have to use a tool that'll translate what you want into that website language that is understood by the browsers, whether it be Safari or Internet Explorer or Chrome or whatever browser you're using. That browser interprets the information on the internet and puts it in a format that is viewable for the users. And behind all that is this language, and you don't really need to know HTML, but if you do, you can build it from scratch using a web language. And this is one way that you can do it, and this is what used to happen in the old days when I got started about 17 years ago now, back in 1998. There weren't lots of tools to help you, so you had to learn a little bit of HTML to get even simple things done. And then there started to be little tools that helped you do things. Adobe Dreamweaver was probably one of the first, and it may even still be used today by some people. And that way it would give you instructions and it would help you translate things, and then you could upload them onto your website. But that is a complex way. But if you know languages, if you're used to programming and things, which is unlikely if you're taking this course, then that is one thing that you can do. Do you need to know HTML? No, frankly you don't. But it may be helpful to understand a few snippets of HTML. You may find that useful, and we'll cover just a few basic snippets in later lessons. Very simple things like how to add a banner onto your website and things like this. Useful to know. So that's method number one. You can build it from scratch, although most of us, me included, will not be able to do that. You can use a web authoring program. I mentioned Dreamweaver, which I'm not sure still exists, but it probably does. But there are things now where you can get what's called WYSIWYG editors, and that really is just as easy as using a word processor. Whatever you put down, whatever you type, and however you arrange it is how it's seen on your website. And WYSIWYG stands for what you see is what you get. So however you arrange things on the page, once you click save, then boom, that's on your website in that way. And that is much easier than understanding HTML or JavaScript or any of these other codes. And you'll find editors like that in WordPress, which is one of the systems that I'm going to be using. So you can use an authoring program. There are others, and you may have a favorite yourself, but WordPress is what I like. You can use a template or a site builder. You may find some of these in Softalicious, which you'll find in your cPanel usually. A template is really just the same as a shortcut. There are lots of site building facilities available, and down below I am putting a link to websitebuildertop10.com, and that'll just show you some of these website builders. Now these are very simple to use, they all work on templates, but the problem with them is you never own the website. It's on their server, you pay them a rental for it, and it's not under your control. But it is an option. There may be templates that you can use that you can add to your own website in Softalicious depending on the type of site you're using. I think they have templates for things like dating sites and forums and this sort of thing. You can use a script or CMS program, and this is useful for things like forum or vBulletin is another example. And of course WordPress falls into this. Now I use WordPress plus WP Profit Builder, which is a plugin that goes into WordPress. It's pretty low cost. I'll just check the price for you, just a second. It's currently $47 for a single site license and $67 for a multiple site license. I think you can add it onto 10 sites for that, or you can pay a few cents more than that at the moment and get a developer license where you can add it onto as many sites as you wish. So in essence it's $47 or $67 depending on usage. It's a single once only payment and well worth it. It will make your life a lot easier and it'll enable you to build sites very, very simply, and it has masses of templates included with it. And I'll be using it, so it'll make it easier to follow what I'm doing. There are workarounds. You can use it. You can still build the site in the same way as me, but you'll just have to do them slightly different way if you don't have this. It'll just take you longer and be a bit more complex. The link below is my affiliate link, so I will make a commission if you do buy, but I'm only recommending it because it's what I use, not because I'm interested in making money from you. But I use it. I think it's the best program out there for value for money for building your own website. So that's another one. And then finally, of course, there are lots of people out there that will build a site for you. You tell them what you want and what it should look like and everything else, and they will just put it together for you. And you can find a lot of these people on places like Upwork, and there's a link for that below the video as well. One of the problems with outsourcing this is that people that build websites are website designers and they're not marketers, and people that are marketers are not website designers, and so you've got to sort of bridge that gap. I've seen some horror stories. They've been beautiful websites when I've been doing my consultancy, and I can think of one classic case where there was an Indian restaurant, and it was a beautiful website, and there were pictures of the outside of the restaurant and a sort of video thing going through showing the different rooms in the restaurant and all this sort of thing. And that would be great if the owner had wanted to sell the restaurant. But let's face it, if you've got a restaurant, what you're selling is food, and there was nothing about the food on there. What there should have been on that website was pictures of people enjoying the food and plates of hot steaming curry and this sort of thing. And there wasn't. It was just like an estate agent's type of thing to sell the restaurant rather than a website to sell the food. So that's one of the things that you have to make sure you manage correctly if you're outsourcing it. It can be a very good solution, but it can also be expensive. If you're building a complex website, it can cost you thousands of dollars. A lot of top marketers do outsource totally their website building. They just say, look, this is what I want, this is what it's got to look like, do it. And they pay for it, and they concentrate on the marketing and developing the business. They're not interested in building the websites. So it is a viable option, but it can be expensive if you're getting started. So very simply, we're getting to the action steps now, and they should be self-obvious. You want to choose the method that you're going to use to build your website. Think about all the options and then do some research if you need to, and choose the one that you're going to start with. And we're going to start building your website in the next lesson. So you need to have all that in place when the next lesson comes along. Okay, I'll see you soon. God bless.